Are you sick of placing and processing food one at a time? Well, get ready! There are a few quality of life updates in this new Animal Tracks release of Dinkum that I'm sure you're going to love. There are new adorable animals. Yes, that was intentional, but watch out, they will attack if you poke them. Vombull. And of course, there's the train. Suitably named Animal Tracks, this release comes out on October 29 and it introduces 4 male animals which, you guessed it, you're now able to breed, but more on that in just a sec. Let's cover the quality of life stuff first. You'll notice there's a new sort button for your pockets and your chests, which is awesome and a welcome addition, particularly for those that are on controller and the Switch. Too bad it doesn't magically empty my own pockets though. When crafting, we finally have more categories to find the recipe you're after and the craftables which are available. Sadly, there aren't any new blueprints to learn. Not to mention this little game changer, the auto placer. It'll work with all processors, so that means campfires, barbecues, cheese makers, kettles, ice cream makers, billy cans, crane mills, and all 3 furnaces. If you want to take your production to the next level, couple it with an auto sorter and you're all sorted. I crack myself up. And this, my friends, is poetry in motion. Now I've got more time to do other stuff in the game. To unlock this, you'll have to have completed the Baconium challenge with Franklin and a certain number of discs. If you've already done all of this, all you need to do is donate just 1 shiny disc and it unlocks this brand new item. It'll set you back 500k, but like the auto sorter, this is a huge time saver. Just place down the auto placer next to 3 processors, ensuring the pipes point towards the items, and throw in the ingredients in the box. It's capable of outputting multiple products, whether it's cooking, grinding, or brewing. Very neat. Does it work with singles of each type if you're just starting out and don't have a production line, such as mine? Let's find out. We'll put a kettle, which is a faster version of the billy can, a barbecue, and a grain mill next to it. Let's throw in some meat, some corn, and some rice. It sounds like a Christmas barbecue. What's interesting is it will go through the first item before moving to the next, but it certainly does work. I'm looking forward to using this little baby to use for prawns, crabs, and other things that can make short work of anything that goes into a kettle or a barbecue. Oh, another advancement is we now have a use for the pineapple which you can collect from the island reef. These can now be made into a jam and can be sold for 25,000 dinks. That's a $10,000 or dinks profit over just the 1 pineapple, and you only need 1 to make jam. But before we cover the train stuff, let's go over the animal changes. There is 1 brand new animal which is the Bordercoot, and while it has a head of a boar, it's very cute. The male wombat is known as a vombull, and the pleep's better half are plunks, with a punk mohawk to boot. Hey, whose look are you looking to steal there, buddy? The chooks now have male companions, the rooster. Since these are considered wild, they must be captured and tamed. You'll now be able to buy a new cleverly named Domesticrate for 45,000 from Berwyn. That's the easy part. Unlike the baby chickens, pleeps and wombats that you normally buy from Irwin, you'll need to find and capture the wild male ones. Mrs. G always does say I'm a good catch. Now I can relate. By the way, you have both pleeps and wombats available, so no need to wait for them to come onto rotation. Since there are now 3 bigger type animals, I believe this also includes the bandicoot, which means that there are 3 animals to rotate in with 2 available buying pens. The roosters can be found in the tropics and with the foliage can be hard to spot. They tend to run from you, so you'll need to corner them like Rocky or something. Adrian! The vombulls can be found in the plains and the plunks will be seen in rivers. The bandicoot can be discovered in the deserts. Once you find them and you can use the domesticate to catch them, I found it a little bit tricky to get them in, but it definitely is still learning the best way. You can transport them on whichever vehicle. Note that these are a one-time use. I noticed the crate will break and disappear after releasing your animal. So while you're getting the animal for free, it's kinda like buying a male for 45,000 versus a pleat, for example, which is sold for 25k. And if you don't use it, you can keep it for the next time you're hunting. Like traps, they don't stack. I tried a few things while testing this out. The small animals can be caught with a cage after weakening them for a bit. However, I did find that they do despawn overnight if they're with other domestic animals. I tried having the bull chase me home, but he didn't quite make it past the bridge. Instead, I fenced him in for another day, which seemed to work for the Vombull, which is too big for a cage. I'd recommend though putting the others in a cage and a fenced area just to be sure. Of course, if you don't want to keep them for mating purposes, you can find them in the wild, and the Vombull will give you considerable meat on defeat and a chance for some prime meat too. If you accidentally provoke or make the Vombull angry, it can be calmed by jumping up on a 2-tile high cliff, which is more than I can say for the Werimu. The new bandicoot, when kept healthy and well fed, will produce 2 types of resources. The earthworms, which are a great way to save on needing meat or grubs to put into your crab pots. It also creates a native bread when there is grass in the area of this tame beast. Looking at the buffs is pretty good, so you can eat it as is, but as the description says, it's an expensive mushroom. Selling it to Johns is a handsome 5,000 each. It can also be an aggressive little bugger, which this one just attacked me for no good reason. Defeating them gives you a decent amount of meat reward too. It's worth noting that when you're playing creative mode, you can spawn in as many of the male variants as you want, including buying the many domesticates as one would like. That said, the other new item that you'll find in Irwin's is the duff dust, which is in a sack. Does that make this a duffel bag? I couldn't resist. The dust will help you get the animals up the duff, as they say in Australia. That's another word for being pregnant. The dust is used on the male animals, so you just go next to the male animal of choice and use the dust. You know it works when you see the lost hearts engulfing the male who'll be looking for a mate. You'll also see a love heart next to the animals list, which, by the way, you have a new way to categorize your animals, which is based on the housing type. The gestation or pregnancy period is 10 days for all animals. Over time, you'll be able to see which of the females is pregnant, and the baby will be born in the same pen as the mother. Between 8 AM and 12 noon. You'll be able to see as well if they're pregnant when they've got a due date. Once the baby is born, the parents can't breed again for a certain number of days, but it's too early to know if it's for both parents, particularly if you've got the one stud on your farm. Roosters can also help fertilize eggs once tamed with the domesticate and need to be coupled, or should I say tripled, with 3 hens in a pen. Wah wee wah wah. If you know the reference, leave a quote in the comment below. The fertilized egg can't be cooked or consumed, but it can be placed in a new craftable incubator, which is unlocked after you spend 500 perma points to get the license from Fletch. The fertilized egg looks slightly bigger and different to the regular eggs. Incubation period is 10 days, but that's a guess. Whatever the number of days is, you'll be greeted with baby little chicks inside the incubator, so just pull them out and they'll get plonked into boxes, just as if you bought them from Irwin. The penguins that were introduced in the Flaming Winter update can now be tamed. If you didn't know, penguins can be found in the Southwest Islands on any day during the winter season. Whether you're catching fresh ones or taming existing ones, use the domesticate to domesticate them, and you'll now can feed them too. Unlike real penguins, these guys are posh and only eat cooked fish. The next day, they'll tip you with pretty pebbles. Just like shiny stones, you can use them in a grinder, or better still, put them into an auto placer to manage placing those in the nearby grinders. Now that's spoiled. Unlike the shiny stone, these little guys give you 6 output, which I think uses the same output as what would be from shiny stones. The tamed penguins will appear under the bird coop in your main menu for under animals, and I was very curious whether they'd actually sleep like chickens. Now my curiosity is satisfied. Now finally onto the hype train. Choo-choo! After getting your vehicle licensed level 2, which is their driving license, you'll be able to claim the locomotion license. This unlocks 3 new recipes for you to use, namely the straight and curved tracks along with a brand new railway track. The train itself costs you 320,000 dinks each, which is the same price as a ute, and uses these ingredients. It can be painted to whichever colour you like with paint you might already have. Each track piece is 2 by 2 tiles wide, with the corners being a very sharp 90-degree turn. The trains can't be driven on land without the tracks and will snap to the tracks when you unpack it from the box. If you're wondering if the train can go up hills, the answer is yes. You just need to make sure that the edge of each tile or piece is 2 tiles wide. If you're curious on how tall the tracks can be between adjacent tiles, let's test this out. Well, it does look like it needs to be a gradual tile rise for each rail piece, which is fair enough. Too high is just too high. Guess that works. There isn't a caboose or a carriage that I've seen in the game, so what if you wanted to push a ute or something in case you wanted to carry some stuff? Well, sadly, this doesn't work, but this is said to be the fastest land vehicle in the game so far. What's a train if you can't wear an outfit too? Well, you can play the part by collecting these pieces of clothing from Clover Shop or as random gifts from your NPCs. While trains can't be placed under bridges, which would be cool, you can run them under pergolas or pergolas for our American friends out there. That way you can make your own. The Animal Tracks update is scheduled for October 29 at 2 AM UTC. I'll let you do the time zone math. But if you're really keen, there will be a separate announcement for getting access to the game using beta codes from October 23, so keep an eye out for that announcement. What are you most excited about in this release? Let me know in the comments. I'm off to go and catch some wild males and build my track for my Wary Moo eggs in time for spring. This release is not too far away, so here's a playlist for you with some Dinkum tips and tricks. Thank you for the terrific support by my channel members, AG Nation.